single Wednesday, and we appreciate him so very much for doing that. So, with that being said, let's bring the man in, Mr. Sofka. How are we doing today?
I'm doing awesome, Dan. How you doing?
Doing well, sir, and we got a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. For those of you that have watched the videos here on Facebook, you know that while we discuss it, you'll be seeing it. So you'll be watching as we talk, and we want to thank the NFL and its partners for providing these videos where you'll be able to see highlights of last season from the Bears, the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Make sure you head over there every single day of the week on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, as well as call for the curbside pickup as well as delivery. You can call 315. Make sure you get in touch with them, 487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. NFC North, Chicago Bears is where we're going to start this thing, and so I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Sofka and let you all see the Chicago Bears while we talk about it here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So without further ado, Mike, I hand Mike the mic, and I give you the microphone here as we get set to talk about these Chicago Bears. So take it away, my good sir.
Yeah, Chicago's an interesting team to me. They got a dynamic offense or defensive line. They can really get after the quarterback, and that helps the back end of their defense, which isn't shabby either. Look, they can rush the quarterback. That's the number one thing you have to do as a defense. You have to put pressure on the quarterback. The way you win games in the NFL is you protect your quarterback and you pressure the opposing quarterback. But speaking of quarterbacks, the big challenge and the big thing all eyes are on is Mitch Trubisky versus Nick Foles. From what I'm hearing out of camp, Nick Foles is the guy who looks better, and he's got familiarity with that offense. He's worked with Matt Nagy and Bill Lazor before, so this is something that he's able to pick up a little more easily. Trubisky, I think, is a little bit shaken by the fact that he may, in fact, lose his job. So I don't think you can draft either one of these quarterbacks in fantasy, and that's a problem for your team, especially when you got the 15th toughest schedule. You're kind of in the middle there, but you know your whole division, the NFC North, has the toughest schedules up top of the rankings. In other words, they've got, as a division, one of the toughest schedules here, second only to the AFC East. There's going to be some fantasy value here. It's going to be hard to find. There's going to be some IDP fantasy value, of course, but the big thing we're talking about today is the record. And when you don't know who your quarterback is at this time of the season, and it's not due to a rookie just coming in, you got problems. Vegas sees them as an 8-win team. I seem to think they're going to do just that. I think they're going to win 8 games. I think they're going to be very mediocre. Has nothing to do with the coaching there. I think Nagy's on to something. But they got to get the quarterback situation straight. I mean, maybe you're looking at Allen Robinson, maybe have a big year here. Maybe Jimmy Graham revitalizes things. But the big eyes are on the defense. The defense is going to have to carry this team. And defense can only win so many games for you when you don't know who your quarterback is. Look, I said they're going to go 8-8. They're going to look good toward the end, and then they're going to end horrendously with road trips to Minnesota and Jacksonville, and then they got at home versus Green Bay. That may determine whether they even have a second to think about being a wild card for the playoffs. I got them going 8-8, just like Vegas says.
Yeah, you know, Mike, for me, to take a look at the Chicago Bears team as you're watching them here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we appreciate the facts that you're here. Jerry said at least they have a name, is what, because he is a Washington Redskins fan. Looking at Chicago, you got them at 8-8. I'm looking at some of the. It's funny how I look at the Buccaneers and I'm like, oh, that's a win, and then I have to remind myself that Tom Brady's there now. But you know, Chicago, you're playing the Colts early on in the season, first 4 weeks. There's something to be said about Phillip Rivers there. I think it's going to take some time. You know, the Giants and the Falcons, kind of up in the air teams, as well as the Rams. I mean, I can argue that the Chicago Bears, maybe they split with the Lions, and then the end of the season is going to be tough, like you said, at Minnesota, at Jacksonville, where I think we're going to see Nick Foles, if he is able to get out there and do his thing, which I think he'll be the starting quarterback, at least to start the season. But if he's there against Jacksonville, we'll be seeing Nick Foles, who never panned out in Jacksonville, versus the man that was supposed to be behind him in Gardner Minshew, who's the starter. That'll be interesting on December 27th, 2 days after Christmas, on Fox at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So, for me, for Chicago, I could say they split with the Lions, so that's one win. I could say that they're going to get one against the Rams, that's two. And then I could look at the Colts and the Falcons, the Giants. I can't see them getting more than 5 or 6 wins this season. I know they went 8-8 last year, but I think that this is going to be a little bit more difficult. I think we're going to see Mitch Trubisky as well as Nick Foles this season. I think we're going to see them both, and I think that's going to confuse the team. I think it's going to affect them. I think they rely on their defense. I think, if you're drafting Chicago Bears players, stay away from the quarterback. I agree with Mike. David Montgomery is somebody to look to, but this is later on in the draft. This could be somewhere in maybe the potential 3rd or 4th round, depending on how smart everybody is that's drafting and where they're at. Tariq Cohen is one of those guys I've had on my team that consistently lets me down, so I don't know how much you would want to put into him. He's more of a flex guy. And then Allen Robinson at wide receiver, Anthony Miller, Ted Ginn, who's 115 years old from Ohio State. He's on the team right now. We know that he is timeless and he can play very well. Cordero Patterson, who comes from the Patriots, he's there now as well. They stockpiled wide receivers, but your best bet is Anthony Miller or Allen Robinson, and I have both of these guys in the lower part. When we look at the top 30 wide receivers, I'm not putting them high on my list. So your best, the best thing that you can get inside of your fantasy football play, in my opinion, from Chicago, is to get their defense and special teams unit, and then look to David Montgomery and maybe a little bit after that to Tariq Cohen. Outside of that, there's not a lot of things I like to write home about Chicago, and I don't think Chicago is going to have more than 6 wins this season. I do think they can shock and get to 8. I don't knock Mike for making that pick. I just can't see it looking at the schedule brass tacks right now without having a true quarterback that they know is going to be their guy. So that's where I'm sitting at. I know my guy Johnny is ecstatic right now because we're hopping over into the Detroit Lions, and I know that he is ready for this, and I know he's very excited about it. So I'm going to send it off to Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com to start the Lions conversation.
Yeah, I like a lot about the Lions. I think they have a lot going on there. I think they're a team that's on the rise. I think the coaching change there is definitely what was needed, but we got to put things in perspective here. They have some things in flux, and what I mean is their backfield. Look, Kerryon Johnson to find running back, but when you take into consideration his inability to stay healthy, and it's not necessarily his fault, they draft DeAndre Swift, who I'm real excited about. He could take over that running back position by mid to 2/3 of the year. So this is a guy you may want to take and stash the first week, see what he does. I have a feeling once he gets on the field and makes some big plays, it's going to be over. One thing they have steady on the team is Matthew Stafford, and I think I think he's above the Mendoza line of quarterbacks. I'm not sure he's my QB1, but he's a guy I can use in a bye week. So I like him a lot. A lot of people are up and down. I think it's going to be a up year for him. Look out for a rookie named Quintez Cephas. I like him a lot as well. I think that if Kenny Golladay can stay healthy, Marvin Jones can stay healthy, Danny Amendola can stay healthy. You're noticing a trend here. They got guys that have to stay healthy. Their whole team. Every time something happens, they seem to turn it around and do the opposite. I like what they did with the brothers bookends, Romeo and Julian Okwara. Those guys are IDP guys. If you're in IDP league, those are guys you want to target. Vegas has them at 7 wins, and I can kind of see that because of their schedule. They have the 5th toughest schedule in the NFL. I'm having a hard time getting to that number 7 because of that schedule. As much as I said they have good things going on and the future looks bright and all they got to do is stay healthy, their past record makes me question how they can stay healthy, especially when you look at a gauntlet where you start at home with Chicago, then you go on the road to Green Bay, on the road to Arizona, who I feel is on the uptick, and New Orleans, then you get a bye week. You could go into that bye week 0-5. Oh, and it doesn't get any better. When you come out, you go to Jacksonville, who I think is going to surprise some people. Then you go to Atlanta. You could be 0-6. That's a sad situation. I got them winning 4 James, that's right. Even though I said they got a great coach, even though I like Matt Patricia, even though I like some of the components of this team, this schedule is tough. I don't see him going above 4 wins, 4-12. Take the under, get the free money from Vegas.
You know, I mean, when we look at this, looking at this Detroit Lions team, like you said, they got a tough schedule coming up here. And, you know, I think this is a team that can be on the rise. I really do believe that. I know that, and Johnny, I know Johnny, my resident Central New York Detroit Lions fan, I got to give him something that keeps him off the ledge. He's had corona. He's had, you know, obviously like all of us, he's had these corona times. So he's been, you know, having to go through all of this. He has 4 children. He's got a lot of stuff going on. He's working full time. So, you know, Mike, I think it's safe to say that I got to give Johnny a reason to. I got to give Johnny a reason to get out of bed. So I'll tell you this, Johnny. I think that DeAndre Swift and Kerryon Johnson are a nice 1-2 punch. If Kerryon, as you know, if Kerryon can stay healthy, it's very important. And you know, we talk about, I mean, and I know people listening and watching are like, well, yeah, of course, Mike, of course, Dan, these guys have to stay healthy. Like, that's common sense. But what we're saying is Detroit needs to stay healthy. Detroit has had some good moments, and then health has got in the way. So we need Kerryon Johnson to stay out there and stay well, the Auburn guy. And DeAndre Swift coming in for this team. DeAndre in the depth chart is number 1 right now, from what I'm looking at. So I think DeAndre Swift is going to be some fuel to the fire here for the Detroit Lions. I think it's great for Matt Stafford later on in his career to have a new running back in DeAndre Swift and Kerryon Johnson, who is young in the game as well in the NFL. So I think this could be a good 1-2 punch. I think DeAndre Swift's going to be a guy that's maybe going to be drafted a little bit high. I think somebody's going to take him in the 2nd round. I think, you know, maybe toward the end of the 2nd round, somebody will do it. If he sneaks to the 3rd round, you got to grab him. Kerryon Johnson, I think, will be left behind. He'll go a little bit later, but I think both of these guys have dividends. If I had to put my feet to the fire right now and tell you if I was in Vegas who I would buy, it would be DeAndre Swift. But I don't think Kerryon Johnson is bad if he stays healthy. Kenny Golladay, one of my favorite young receivers out there. Again, a guy who needs to stay healthy. He didn't in the beginning of his career. He has, for the most part, since then. Marvin Jones Jr., he also has to stay healthy. He's a good 1-2 punch with Kenny Golladay. In Chicago or in Cincinnati, he did nothing. Since coming to Detroit, he's done a hell of a lot more. He bailed me out of a couple weeks of fantasy play. Danny Amendola, another guy who has to stay healthy. Mike is stating the obvious thing here, and the reality of this all, Detroit has players that just can't stay on the field for whatever reason, and it's unfortunate. If they do, we haven't seen them. It's a big if. It's the last 2 or 3 years. If they do, what does it look like if Marvin Jones plays an entire season? What does it look like if Kenny Golladay is right there with him? What does it look like if Danny Amendola is there as a guy that you can, you know, dish the ball off to and let him go with it? What does it look like if Kerryon and DeAndre are both healthy in the backfield? What does it look like if Matt Stafford's healthy out there? If TJ Hawkinson is catching some passes and not just having a block, but to get out there and be, you know, an exciting threat in their passing game, and Jesse James is able to stay healthy to push TJ Hawkinson and to teach him. There's a lot of good that can happen with Detroit in fantasy, but they have to stay healthy. If you get the Lions defense, I don't think they're any slouch. I think that's a good defense to have. I think if you're just kind of grabbing and going with your defense and you're kind of shifting it from week to week, I don't know if the Lions one is one that you should be willing to let go of so quickly. So I would definitely make note of that. But I think there's a lot of good here. I think the defense is something to get. I think my favorite Lions to draft this year would be Swift and Golladay. I think Marvin Jones Jr. is another sneaky one. Kerryon Johnson could be a 4th or 5th round pick. And inevitably over the last couple seasons in my leagues here in Central New York, Matt Stafford has been left out there for a while. So he could be a good backup quarterback for you and your team. Detroit, record-wise, Johnny's got him at 9-7. My opinion, like they said, I think they could split with Chicago. I think Green Bay is going to be difficult here, but it depends on what Detroit sees them. Team sees them on Sunday, December 13th. So they play them in Week 2 and they play them in Week 14. I think Week 14, that's a big one to circle to see where Detroit's at that time. But I think splitting with Chicago, and then, you know, it depends on where Indy's at, depends on where Atlanta's at. I think they could beat the Skins. Carolina, depends on where they're going to be at on the 22nd. There's a lot of question mark teams on their schedule. I can see them getting 5 or 6 wins. I think it's going to be hard to put them to 8 or 9, but I think 5 or 6 is safe, you know, and I think if they're going to put them at 7, that makes some sense to me here, and I could see that happening. So ultimately, Detroit, I think you're getting better, fantasy-wise and reality-wise, and I think that fans like Johnny, you just got to wait a little bit here. I think this team's on the uptick, and they're going to get there. You just got to give them some time to get there. And I know that it's been forever, but you're going to have to give them just a little bit more time to get them there, because I do think that this team is improving. It's just going to take some more time, and that schedule is not going to help them out by any way, shape, or form. With that being said, Mike and I are going to take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. When we spin back around, Mike and I will be bringing you the other half of the NFC North. That is your Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, in the Fantasy Football Power Hour. While we are on this fast break, you have the opportunity to join us on our fantasy football group, Winning Fantasy Football, and you can bookmark HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com and utilize Mike's services in helping you to win your fantasy league this season. That'll be coming up right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. And, of course, you're watching on Facebook Live on facebook.com/live-now-dt. And I knew as soon as I said Detroit fans are going to have to wait a little bit longer, I knew Johnny was going to say something like this. He said, I've been waiting 34 years. And I understand, Johnny, they're on the incline. Listen, they weren't always on the incline. I'm saying you got to wait a little bit longer on the incline, but they will get there. We're inside of our Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub. We've been breaking down every single division of the NFL. We did the entire AFC. Today is the NFC North. And we have already spoken about Chicago and Detroit. We'll be heading to Green Bay. And when I say we, I'm talking about Mike Sofka, my partner in crime here with Fantasy Football. Mike and I here with you every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. And Mike coming to you from HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com with free and paid opportunities to help you win your fantasy league. And, of course, the both of us together in our Facebook group, Winning Fantasy Football. So a lot of things to get excited for. Every Wednesday we're with you live. This show gets archived. It goes to wakeupcalldt.com. it goes to our Winning Fantasy Football group page. You can join our fantasy football group and talk with us every single day, all day long on Facebook at Winning Fantasy Football. And on top of all of that, you could go to Mike for some expanded help with going to HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com. So many, many layers to our fantasy football coverage, and that's why I love working with Mike. So with that being said, we're going to jump off into the other half, I should say, of this division in alphabetical order. So we're going to be rolling out to the Green Bay Packers now and give you the opportunity to see this Green Bay team, and I will hand it off to Mr. Mike Sofka to give his thoughts on Green Bay this season. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I like Green Bay a lot. I like the players they have in place. I know everybody was like, hey, why didn't they draft a wide receiver? I mean, there was 15 great wide receivers that you could have taken in the draft. Your obvious need was wide receiver, and you don't even take one. You trade up with your first pick to produce turmoil with the quarterback, taking a Jordan Love who you could have gotten in the second round, in my opinion. And Aaron Rodgers isn't going anywhere this year, but you kind of put something in the back of his mind like, hey, you're trying to hush him out. Kind of like, well, this is kind of like what happened when he came in with Brett Favre. They brought in Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers sat for a couple years. I think that's going to be the case here with Jordan Love, but I just think it's a dangerous situation to draft a quarterback with your first pick still. I've had months to digest this, and still I can't see it. But you know what I can see? I can see what only the coaches see, and I can see what the quarterback there sees. I can see what Aaron Rodgers sees in the new number 2 receiver, Allen Lazard. Allen Lazard, you've heard us talk about him in the past. I had an opportunity to spend an entire day with Allen Lazard. The guy is cool. The guy is an excellent ball player. He's centered. He's down to earth. This is a guy who Aaron Rodgers, when they picked him up off the Jacksonville practice squad, said, hey, I like this guy. When he was in practice, the guy made it on the field. He's made some plays on the field. Now, don't get me wrong. He's not going to usurp Devontae Adams there for the lead receiver. But this is a guy who's going to get the targets. If you're in a startup dynasty league, this is a guy you want to take with a sneaky pick late. This is a guy who's going to produce. Devontae Adams is going to draw the number 1 corner on opposing teams, and I think Allen Lazard can beat most number 2 corners on teams. Yes, I said that, and you can check the film this year. I think Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers have some mending to do. There's still that generational difference with LaFleur being the young, exciting guy and Aaron Rodgers being the older guy in his career. Again, kind of like Favre. They have a dynamic running piece at Aaron Jones. Scored like 19 touchdowns last year, and led the NFL. What do? They draft a running back out of Boston College and A.J. Dillon. So I kind of think this is Matt LaFleur getting his guys. He's getting his quarterback. He's getting his running back. But I thought Aaron Jones did a pretty good job last year. If there's a deficiency, I think it's on the defense. I'm worried about them with the middle-of-the-road schedule they have. 15th toughest schedule in the league. Vegas has them at 9 wins. I go through this schedule, and I think they're going to surprise some people. I got them winning 10 games. I got them just over that. I got them winning the division here. I got them, well, I kind of gave that away before we got to Minnesota. But, look, I got them winning 10 games. The schedule is going to hurt them in a couple of spots. You know, you got to play Minnesota twice. You got to play Detroit twice. These are teams that can beat you now. These are teams that have Chicago. You got to play them twice. You know, they're probably going to split those games with those division opponents. I just don't know what's going to happen here with the turmoil. I hope everybody can be professional and get above that 9-win total. Again, I got them going 10-6 heading to the playoffs.
You know, Mike, this is deeply confused me. The Jordan Love pick made absolutely no sense to bring in. Like you said, LaFleur is getting his guys for the future, but you have Aaron Rodgers. We're looking at some of the things here as you're watching highlights, and obviously, this video belongs to the NFL and its partners, but you're watching Aaron Rodgers and the throws that he is able to make and the things he's been able to do. Right there, it looked like he was going to tuck it and run, and he ends up throwing the ball off to the sideline and gets a first down. Aaron Rodgers has been tremendous for this team. The man has played on one leg. You think that he's going to be potentially out for the season or out for the game or out for a few weeks, and he comes back in and he finishes a game with his body feeling the way that it did. I mean, this is a quarterback that you need to appreciate and enjoy watching while we have the opportunity to watch them live. You know, Aaron Rodgers, one of the best in the business and one of the best potentially ever. And so I don't know why you go and get Jordan Love. I'm a fan of Jordan Love. I am. I just don't understand why the Packers needed him. But I will tell you, A.J. Dillon automatically jumps to number 2 on the depth chart. I think he'll find his way to number 1. I'm not sold on Aaron Jones. Not a big Aaron Jones fan. Haven't been in fantasy really ever to draft Aaron Jones. I gave him a shot, but that was it. Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones, they've tried to make it work. The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's what they've done with Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. It's time to hand the ball to somebody else. There's a reason why you went in the second round to A.J. Dillon and made him one of the top 50 picks this year in the NFL, and I am so ecstatic that they made this decision to bring in A.J. Dillon, and I think he's fantastic. I talked with Steve Adazio about him. Boston College, he recruited him, he brought him in, and I got to cover him at Boston College and speak with him. He is a tremendous player, and I said 2 years ago that I couldn't wait to draft him in fantasy football when he plays in the NFL. Now he has the opportunity. I love the fact that Green Bay went and got him. And like you said, Green Bay didn't go and get a wide receiver. They have Devontae Adams, who's one of the best in the biz. Allen Lazard was on the practice team for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have his rookie card, and I'm going to hold on to that thing now that he's with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron has called out his receivers in the past. He has called them out and said what he likes and what he doesn't like. And he has been clear that if he likes you, you're going to be all right because he's making those decisions. Allen Lazard was a fifth-string guy. He was bottom of the barrel, maybe seventh. And then all of a sudden he became number 2. Why? Because Marquez Valdez-Scantling wasn't getting it done. Equinemius St. Brown wasn't getting it done. And so on and so forth. Now Allen Lazard's the number 2 guy. And he might make Jacksonville pay by not putting him out there, not getting him on the 53-man roster, and not giving him a true opportunity. Devontae Adams and Allen Lazard, this is a nice 1-2 punch for me. I think Devontae is definitely worth drafting very high. And then as far as Allen Lazard goes, this is a little sneaky pick. This is a 5th to 7th round guy, depending on how many players are in your fantasy football draft, and you can grab them and find some good with that. Jace Sternberger is their tight end. You might not know who he is, but you might have to get to know him because Aaron Rodgers is going to go to his tight end. Now, he may not utilize it as much as you liked it with Brett Favre and whatnot, but we may see some work there. Sternberger, not a bad guy to get later on in the draft. You should not be drafting a tight end early unless you're going second or third round. I would say third round, but with Travis Kelce or something like that. But ultimately, I like Aaron Rodgers, I like A.J. Dillon, I like Devontae Adams and Allen Lazard, and a little outside thing at Jay Sternberger I think will help you out. Looking at their schedule, I think that they can, obviously, I think they could take down Minnesota definitely, at least once, if not twice. I think they got a good shot at taking down Detroit. I think they got a good shot at taking down Atlanta. I think New Orleans is going to be interesting. So is Tampa because it's Tom Brady. Houston, San Francisco. Green Bay can arguably win any of these games. The problem is they're going to San Francisco. They got to stop doing this. They went to San Francisco last year, lost in the regular season, got embarrassed. Went back there in the playoffs, lost again. Now they have to go back there again. Isn't it time for San Fran to come to Green Bay? I would think. But San Fran's got the better end of it. I think that I could definitely, before Mike even said it, I was thinking 10. So I'm going to second Mike and say that the Packers will have 10 wins this season. I'm going to agree with that. So the Packers will have 10 wins as I second that fact, that notion, I should say. So, the prediction is for me. I think Green Bay is going to be in good footing. Like I said, I think there's an outside shot at the Chicago Bears doing what Mike said and getting to 8 wins. I got them comfortable at 6 or 7. And then Detroit, I think they're going to have 6, but I think that Detroit could definitely, I think they're definitely on the rise, like I stated before. Don't let the record prediction make you think that I think that they're any way, shape, or form going in the wrong direction. I think Detroit's going in the right direction. It's just that schedule, and it's just, can everybody stay healthy? With that being said, we head to the final piece of our NFC North conversation, and that will be the Minnesota Vikings. Mike, take it away with Minnesota. What do you got?
Yeah, we've talked about this before with Detroit. Staying healthy. Staying healthy is what it's going to take. Dalvin Cook, man, you're in a contract year. supposedly everybody is conscious of this and everybody is taking heed in practice and so forth. You don't need another injury, especially preseason injury here with the short preseason we have. But Dalvin Cook has got to stay healthy. I think we're going to see a lot more Alexander Madison. I think they're going to monitor Dalvin Cook a little bit closer, try to make sure they're not overusing him. But this is a guy who's still young. He should be able to handle it. I don't think he was overused in college. Here's a guy. He could be a first-round running back pick any given year if he could stay healthy. This is killing fantasy, guys. When you're drafting a guy in the first round, is one of your premier running backs, and he gets injured right away, and then he's gone for 10, maybe season. It's frustrating. I know. I've been there. I think he's going to put it together. I think he's magically going to stay healthy in his contract year. Who would ever think of such a thing, that in your contract year you won't have any injuries? What a beautiful concept. Look, he's got great receivers on the team. Adam Thielen. Look, Stephon Diggs departed, and, he's moving on to bigger and better things. They couldn't get together. But Justin Jefferson, they bring this cat in. He is a dominant receiver. This is a guy who's immediately going to be another number 2 type receiver immediately. I think there's a dark horse situation here at tight end. I think Irv Smith is actually going to, it's all of a sudden the light bulb is going to go off. I think him and Kyle Rudolph are going to be a dangerous tandem at tight end. I like some of the new pieces they're bringing in on defense. These are names you're not going to see or hear for a while, but you have to groom these guys to the speed of the game, and that's what's going to happen. They're going to need some of these backup players. They pretty much have their front line guys set. Jeff Gladney is a nice addition at cornerback, though, this year. Vegas has them go wins. Now, everybody beating up on each other. Mike Zimmer's used to this in the North. This is what happens. The first game is at home against Green Bay. I love it. Get it over with. Get it right at. I mean, these are two powerhouses. These are two teams that don't like each other, and usually it's winner goes on, loser stays home. These are important matches, and when you start the your first game, I think you're going to win that game at home against Green Bay. No matter fans or no fans, no matter what it is, I think they're still going to win that game. I got them matching that Vegas total of 9 and 7. I contend for a wild card. I think they're right on the money there. Minnesota Vikings might make 9 wins.
Yeah, I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to have themselves a good season this season. I do see some good things happening with Minnesota, and I definitely, I think, in my opinion, I'll let you know how many wins I think they're going to have once we get to the end of the conversation. I want to start off here with taking a look at, the talent that they have. Mike brought up a great thing here. Dalvin Cook has to stay healthy, but Adam Thielen, who you're seeing right now, here's a big question mark. What is Adam Thielen going to do now that there's no Stephon Diggs? How will that affect his output? Who's going to step up? We look at the depth chart, and if he needs a Justin Jefferson or a Tajay Sharp who's coming to him from the Titans, who is young in the NFL, KJ Osborne, who came from Buffalo, went to Miami, and I got to speak with him when he became a Miami Hurricane. There's some young cats on this team that are going to need to really step it up. And, Adam Thielen's going to be relying on that because Thielen, fantasy-wise, has been a top 5, sometimes a top 2 guy when we're looking at some of the stuff that he's been able to do as far as numbers-wise. We look at Adam Thielen, you may not think of him this way, but he has been this way in numbers. I mean, he's a guy that is really going to showcase himself. Can he be a number 1? Can he do it without Stephon Diggs? Can he keep his output strong? And who's going to help him out on the other side of the field to give Kirk Cousins some more opportunity? Kirk Cousins making that money and taking care of himself, and Kirk, one of those guys where you ask the question of, is Kirk Cousins going to be, somebody that's going to be worth that contract and the money that they paid him? That is a big question mark. Him like Dak Prescott asking for a lot of money, $30 million a year at least. Are they worth it? How many games have they won? Kirk Cousins was right outside of the Super Bowl. He had the Minnesota Miracle, but ultimately didn't make it to the Super Bowl in the year that the Philadelphia Eagles defeated them and then defeated the Patriots just a couple seasons ago. So it's what's going to happen. If Kirk Cousins goes down for any way, shape, or form, Sean Mannion, Jake Browning, and Nate Stanley are your options. So Kirk Cousins got to stay healthy, I would imagine here. Alexander Madison, another guy to pick up, a sneaky guy. You can get him in maybe the 5th round, 6th round, back up to Delvin Cook. Mike Boone is there as well that I covered in Cincinnati. Very happy for Mr. Boone coming from Cincinnati in the American Athletic Conference. He might be somebody to pick up in the waiver wire or free agency later on in the season. But Delvin Cook, like you said, Mike, it's a contract year. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to put in good work here, and hopefully he will. Delvin Cook, a phenom if he can stay healthy, in my opinion. But it's a giant if. So I would say your best bets at drafting are Adam Thielen, then Delvin Cook, Alexander Madison, Kirk Cousins as your backup quarterback. And then you got to look at Justin Jefferson, Tajay Sharp, and KJ Osborne and see which one of these guys is going to step up here. A lot of question marks outside of Adam Thielen. Kyle Rudolph is worth the pickup, but don't expect a lot out of him. 20 to 40 yards, probably more on the side of 20 than 40 in a game. Irv Smith, I would say I would draft above Kyle Rudolph in your fantasy draft this year. I think overall that Minnesota is going to have 8 wins this season. That's where I'm going to place them. I think they'll be right behind Green Bay, but I think Green Bay is going to take the division, and that's what I'm sticking to as we move forward here. And Minnesota's defense, not that bad to get as well. I would think out of every division we've spoken about up to this point, that the division where you can't really go wrong with a defense would be here in the NFC North. I think the Lions have some good things to write home about. Obviously, they got a DB in the draft here high. I think Minnesota's got some good stuff, Green Bay, and obviously Chicago with their defense. So there is some good to be had here in defense and special teams drafting inside of fantasy football if you do that like we do in our leagues. And then outside of that, it's who's going to step it up ultimately, with Minnesota at that wide receiver position. But I like the talent that they have, and I think Kirk Cousins is good. I just don't think he's your starter. I think he's your backup on your fantasy team. Any final words, Mr. Sofka, before we wrap up the NFC North?
Yeah, I like the North. It's kind of like the AFC North where, it's going to be a slugfest. It's going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust, like they used to say. I think in the situation that we're in right now with, whether we're going to have fans, whether we're going to have a lot of fans, no matter what it's going to look like, you can still count on a good game whenever the NFC North gets together. I like that Week 1 matchup with Green Bay and Minnesota right away. And then, you got Detroit and Chicago right away, too. So I like the scheduling there. I think it's great that they have those immediate divisional games right away. And it's hard to stay on top of some of this stuff, but this is what I do. Fantasy-wise, if you want to win your league this year, just go to my site, HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com, punch in the code SCOREFREE5. That's all capital letters, SCOREFREE5, all one word. You're going to get that $5 cheat sheet, whether it's standard scoring or PPR. You're going to get that absolutely free. That's for people who watch us on Facebook. That's for people who follow us, okay? So don't go giving that out. That's free $5 cheat sheet for you. And I stepped it up. I'm going to do one better. 40% off any of my premium products. Use the code Orlando40. We have a new look on the website. It's lean and mean. It's screaming steel and sex appeal, baby. We're going to win some fantasy football games this year. Come on along on a ride with me. Let's go.
Mike, you said score free 5. Is it the number 5 or is it 5 spelled out?
It's the number 5. Score free and then 5. Everything's in capital letters, and that's the number 5 at the end, not the word 5.
Okay, so go to HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com. To all my listeners, all my viewers right now, go to HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com. Use the promo code SCOREFREE5. All capital letters for score free, and then 5 is the number for a $5 cheat sheet for free. So the $5 fantasy cheat sheet for free, you can get that right now by going to HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com. Use the promo code SCOREFREE5, and then you can get 40% off on HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com by using Orlando40, Mike. Is that correct?
That's correct. Orlando40. That's all capitals as well.
So Hall of Fame. Go ahead.
And 40 is the numbers, 40.
So you can also go to Hall of Fame Fantasy Football.com right now to get 40% off by using the promo code Orlando40. That is Orlando, all caps, Orlando 40. So do that now. Head to Hall of Fame Fantasy Football.com. Get your $5 cheat sheet for free by using ScoreFree5 and get 40% off all the premium products to help you win your fantasy league from Mike Sofka by using the promo code Orlando40. That's Orlando40. This has been our coverage of the NFC North. Chicago, Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota are off the clock, on the clock for next week, the NFC South. That is your Carolina Panthers, as well as your New Orleans Saints, your Atlanta Falcons, and your Tampa Bay Tom Brady Buccaneers. Mike, as always, I appreciate you, sir. I thank you so much. We're heading toward this NFL season, and I am a believer. We're going to do it and get it done right. Let's keep everybody safe and sound. And as always, Mr. Sofka, thank you for all that you do.
Oh, thank you, Dan. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, take care. That coming from Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame Fantasy Football.com, hanging out with us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and he will be joining us for some great conversation next week. I'm very, very excited for that. NFC North, it was today. NFC South is next week. The Atlanta Falcons will be doing alphabetical order, as we always do. So the Atlanta Falcons will be first, then the Carolina Panthers, then the New Orleans Saints, and finishing off with Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Go to HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com. Get those $5 cheat sheets for free, as well as get yourself 40% off by going and typing in Orlando40. I appreciate you all. I thank you all. We'll take our final step aside for today's broadcast, and we'll be back right after this. The Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Your home to get your curbside pickup as well as your delivery by calling 315-487-2222 and going there on location to 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. You can sit outside or inside and get yourself a fantastic experience from some of the best people that I know in our community.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City.
Avicoli's Restaurant, located right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, is proud to be your local neighbor, growing with you for over 20 years. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. For takeout, delivery, or catering, call us at 315-622-5100. When you order online and use our promo code ABS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavicolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avicoli's, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Trapper's Pizza Pub, located on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. Right off of Bridge Street is your local community supporter right around the corner. Join us on site at Trapper's Pizza Pub for our live monthly broadcast supporting Central New York student athletes and their sports programs. Call 315-438-4444 for more information. And find us on Facebook and Instagram at Trappers Pizza Pub. Trappers Pizza Pub, your local community supporter, right around the corner.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. I want to thank my tremendous guest today, Mr. Dave Klein, who had a lot of laughs with us and a lot of serious moments and a lot of positivity. All great stuff coming from Dave. If you missed any point of that conversation, you got to go back and listen. If you missed it all, you got to hear it. And if you heard it, well, then you got to hear it again. Dave Klein, CNS North Stars, head football coach, and a friend of mine. Appreciate you, Dave. And I want to thank Mike Sofka for the NFC North analysis that he did with me here today. Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, and Minnesota Vikings. Once again, we have Chicago getting, in my opinion, 6 to 7 wins. Mike has 8. Detroit, I feel comfortable with 6. Around there is where Mike is. We agree that the Green Bay Packers will have 10. And he's got a little bit more for Minnesota than I do. I have them getting 8 this season inside of the Wildcat Sports Pub's Fantasy Football Power Hour. We'll be doing our fantasy drafts at the Wildcat next Sunday, August 30th. I'll be there all day long. Literally, I'm opening it up and I'm shutting it down. Private dining room, all to myself and all to my leagues. We got the giant draft screen. We'll be hooked up on that, and you'll be able to see that. It's going to be awesome. If you haven't joined the league and you want to, send an email to dtstays@gmail.com. That's dtstays@gmail.com. Or you can respond to this video and let me know that you want in the league. 4 leagues drafting at 11:30 a.m., 2 p.m., 4:30 p.m., and 6:30 p.m. So make sure that you join us in that. And thank you to the Wildcat. Thank you to Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. Tune in live to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can watch right here on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. You can listen on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Free to join both. And you can search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on MixLR, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, the RSS feed, Podbean, iHeartRadio, iTunes Podcasts, and YouTube. And you will find our archive of shows. And, of course, thank you to our Central New York partners, our studio partner, Cafe Kubal, with their new location that just opened on North Townsend Street, on 208 North Townsend Street in Syracuse, called the Holly Green Cafe. I was there yesterday. You can head over there today. They're open 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. at that location and have plenty of locations throughout Syracuse. Head to Cafe Kubal and let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. Carvel DeWitt, the home of the Orange Dream. Today is Wednesday, which means it's buy one, get one. You buy one Orange Dream, you get another for free. 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. It is what happy tastes like. The Wildcat Sports Pub, just talked about them throughout this hour. 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Home of fantastic food, great people, and a great atmosphere. Thank you to Danny Tome and the team for being one of the best places and a true and honest family. And that's what I love about it more than anything. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Head off there to Ma and Pa's today and curbside pickup. And you can also go in the store, or you can order at maandpazpopcorn.com and get your favorite flavor today. Listen, we all like to snack every once in a while. There is nothing like going to Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory or having it delivered to you. If you're one of my listeners or viewers that's outside of the Syracuse area, you're outside of the state of New York, go to maandpazpopcorn.com and order from them today. It'll be delivered right to your doorstep. I'm talking to you, Jerry Hart. I'm talking to you, Mr. Scott Blair, and so on and so forth. Avicoli's, corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. And make sure you head off to Avicoli's today. You can call them at 315-622-5100 to place your order. You can also order at myavicolis.com. Use promo code AVS10 for 10% off all online orders. That's AVS10 at online checkout. Honda City of Liverpool, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. I get all my cars there. I love Honda. I appreciate them. I love their products, and I love the service and the people. The way that they treat you there is just phenomenal. Thank you, Honda City, for helping me to drive happily. Chick-fil-A Cicero, that is very close to Honda City of Liverpool. Chick-fil-A Cicero in Cicero, New York, 7916 Brewerton Road. Head off to Chick-fil-A today. I don't need to tell you about the great flavors, but I will tell you that Jim Rusakowski and the team make this Chick-fil-A extra special to me. and it's in our community. And even though they have an international name, they are a very local team. And I appreciate them so much. And they employ a lot of our students that are hoping to get back to school. So shout out to Chick-fil-A Cicero for all the great things you do for all of us and to help keep these kids together when they've been apart due to coronavirus. They've been able to stay together at work even though they couldn't be in school together. So I really do appreciate that from Chick-fil-A. Canine Camp, and it can't go understated. Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding, both of East Syracuse. You can head off to each of those today for short and long-term care for your furry-loving friend. You can also buy their T-shirts that donate money to our community for those that are helping to find homes for our animals and protect our animals. Canine Camp Dog Daycare on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse has their dog peeing on COVID-19, and it says, "Lift your leg on the virus." Buy that shirt today. It's timeless, and I can imagine that you'll get some laughs out of it, and people will appreciate and want to buy one. So go out there and get it today. Also, you can get your dog food there. You can get your dog a toothbrush. You can get them everything that they need. Basically, you can get their leashes, you can get their harnesses and their collars and whatnot, their toothpaste, like I did for Lily. They have peanut butter toothpaste. So you can get that there. And the long-term dog boarding care, you can give your dog some healthy lodging and places to have fun and play with other dogs at 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse. Boreo's out on 8891 McDonald's Parkway in Cicero. Millhouse Market, worth the drive every time on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski. And Trapper's Pizza Pub on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. So thank you to all my partners. Thank you again to Mike Sofka and to Dave Klein. I appreciate you all. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, the Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. Have a great day. Be safe. Be well. Appreciate your blessings. And just be good to each other and be good to yourself. I'll talk to you all soon. God bless.